just pop in. I know I said I would record the next video explaining a little bit more about the timeline of events that led me to believe that my signs, symbols, and synchronicities had more meaning than I possibly ever could imagine. And so I tried to make some videos at home, and I actually did make some videos, but that whole ego death I am going through, feeling like, what am I saying? And I don't want people to, some people who may feel intense anxiety or stress or something from my message. I'm very conscious that hearing the words that maybe the seventh trumpet and the four horsemen, and that the black horse, the third, wind is picking up pretty good here right now as I'm talking, that the third horse may potentially, if you believe that my dream has and my experiences have some value. Wow. This is kind of what I'm talking about, is that every time I get close to sharing my message, are you seeing this? Are you hearing this? Wow. I'm gonna turn this around so that maybe you can see it more. But I'm just gonna say it because this is where I feel most protected, is when I am out in nature, surrounded by the elements. And I'll hope that you'll be able to hear me when I get home and I edit this video. And if not, it'll just be another one that gets put aside in my attempt to share. Okay, so I just recorded a bunch. And at some point it stopped recording on its own. So let's try this again. April 22nd, 2024, I had a dream of souls ascending Earth at record speed. And in the dream, I was on Earth, like on the ground, and I was looking up and watching all of it happen very quickly. And then I could feel myself rise off the earth, and I was then looking down. And I could have this sense of relief, like instantaneous relief, and feeling like it was the end of suffering. Don't mind this. The wind is going to pick up again because it does every time I talk about this. And it could be just because it's windy. And so when I wrote it the next morning, I wrote it down, and I thought to myself, wow, it feels like I'm having a revelation of something. It feels like I'm having a revelation. And so I went about my business. A number of things had happened through the day, some other stuff that was kind of interesting and fascinating to me. And on the way home, I noticed in the distance something, because I'm always staring at the sky, I'm always looking at the clouds. I am always fascinated with what nature provides. And so it was an angel, and I thought, that is absolutely massive. Like, are there other people who are noticing this as well? And so I sort of turned to go towards it and followed it and got closer so that I could see it better. And as I got to a place where I could see it even more clearly, I noticed that there was a number of other angels in the background, and they appeared exactly how my dream had been the night before. And I thought that was so fascinating. And then something said, turn your phone sideways. So I did, and I took a couple of pictures. And so when I got home, I wondered if I totally lost it, and showed the people who were at my house, and they confirmed that they could see it as well. So thank goodness for that. and so I looked at the photo where I had turned it sideways, and it appeared to be a baby's face wearing a bonnet, and an older image was kissing the baby. And so it was so weird because it looked like a photo had been put in to my photo, and there was no photo. It was just the sky. I was taking a picture of the sky and these angels. So that was super fascinating. And I was like, okay, this feels like something. I don't know what it is, but it definitely feels somehow important. So what I did was I, of course, journaled a little bit about it and wrote it down, and then different messages started coming in stronger. Being intuitive since I was a child, I didn't realize that everyone didn't have this experience of the world or understanding or deep knowing until I started to grow and share and found out that no, that is not the case, and that in fact that's problematic for you to know and believe and sense and see energy and spirits and receive guidance and information, and to be able to see illness, anyway, to all these things that are outside of the comfort zone of, I would say, mainstream society wants us to believe, which is probably a very small amount of people, but we're led to believe it's the greater population. My messages increased. And so in May, when the geostorm hit us here and we were able to see the northern lights up here in interior British Columbia, and I had gone outside with my son, I already had been connecting to what I believed to be Daniel from the Bible. And the way that I knew I was connecting with Daniel was because I was led to pull out some angel cards that I had bought and never opened. And don't mind me, I just noticed that my dogs are thinking of chasing a car. I pulled out some angel cards, and the first one that fell out was Daniel. And I was like, I didn't think any much of it because I need more than that to believe, because honestly, that would be like believing that every single second of your life has a deeper meaning. And I am sorry, I have lived in this construct for far too long, and have worked as a community parole officer, a very rational, logical, system-based organization, Government of Canada. So I am very well aware of how that sounds. And so when Daniel fell out, I was like, well, that's interesting. I don't know who Daniel is or how that relates to anything, because I was not raised in a religious household or even spiritual household. I had to look it up. And so I looked up who Daniel was. And apparently Daniel, the prophet, was able to interpret dreams. And then I was intrigued. I was like, well, now this is kind of exciting and interesting. So the Jew storm hits, and I, in my wisdom, wanted some kind of confirmation that I was not piecing together far more than maybe these things were meant to be. So I asked for a sign. And I went outside with my son, and we were watching and recording. It was absolutely magical and beautiful. And I had my video recording, whatever you call it, I'm a 70s baby, so our language it's hard to change. And so I was recording this, and I'll attach it. I'll attach it here so that you can see it, along with the other photos as well. I'll attach those. Obviously, I will have by the time I make the video, but bear with me.
That's like a traditional angel.
It is. I got my sign. I asked for this.
That's
How many more people? We're so
Look at it.
fortunate. Its arms are
It's
waving.
shining.
Oh. Yes. Oh, look at how wide its wings are. I wish I had a wide angle. These are so important. And how fortunate we are to be the ones that get to see it. Wow.
This is the craziest shit I've ever seen.
This is the most amazing. Started with my dream of the angels and souls rising up, to then seeing the clouds of the exact same thing, to now having this amazing show. How fortunate are we? It was absolutely amazing. A massive angel formed in the sky, along with a number of different images that came out. But you can hear in my video where I am, and same as my son, we were both so incredibly moved. It was so powerful. Its wings were flapping, and if that's what they do, and obviously it's imagery to impart this sense of divinity, and it worked, because it literally felt like how I would imagine the hand of God, the creator of all, the source of everything. Like it's an energetic force is how I see it. Obviously not a man, because man is fallible, right? Humans fallible. And so this is how I imagined the source of all, just literally, it's not like anything other than being wrapped and just completely enveloped in this sense of peace. And so I recorded it for a long time. It was hard because my camera could only pick up not the entire image because it was my phone. And my son, who had been recording, didn't actually catch any. So he was so, impressed that I was able to catch it on my phone. Not that it was my skill. Clearly, you can tell. So I took that, and we both went online inside, and we were just watching it over and over. And so we were trying to see who else had seen it. Oh, look, here's my crow. Crows are my spirit animal, one single crow. And I'll tell a story about that later, because they haven't always been. Can you see that? I suck at this. Turn it around. They've come to tell me. Good job. So I'm not a solitary crow anymore. I'm looking for my murder. The group of crows, the tribe, the other crows and people who experience divinity in their world every single day. Where did they go? Oh, right there. Oh, look, we have another one coming. That's the tribe I'm looking for. Oh, and another one. Oh, and here comes another one. This is so amazing. Look at this. They're just loving gliding on the wind up there. Six of them. Oh, I love, oh, here comes it. Now 7. I hope this is catching it. I can't tell. It's so bright out here. I wonder if there will be 8. Let's turn around. Look at that cloud forming. It's beautiful. Well, that was lovely. I appreciated that. Okay, so I'm back. Was that not amazing? Started off as 1 crow and we ended up with 7. Nice encouragement to say, keep going. Keep going. Get the message out. Okay, so that geostorm angel, nobody posts about it, nobody talks about it. My son and I are completely felt changed by it. It felt so absolutely magical, okay? And so that was in May. And so by the end of May, I had cut myself off of anybody or anything that had an expectation for me to behave in a certain way, to follow the rules of you can't say that, that's not who you are, you're not a spiritual being, you don't have those gifts, even though they rely on me with those gifts. I cut everyone off. I made it very clear, and I also had tried for the people closest to me. I really wanted them to come along. That wasn't their journey. They weren't meant to come with me. And so basically went into hermit mode of, well, I also was in the middle of a home renovation, so I had to finish that on my own. And in regular life, you still have to, exist in regular life, but my intention became to understand the messages that I was receiving and the images that I was recording and the experiences I was having, because it felt far greater for me than just for me, if that makes sense. Because at first it was like, okay, maybe it's my transformation, my revelation of stepping into who I truly am at a soulful level. I've done all the things. I've had kids, been married, I have renovated 12 houses, I've bought, 6 houses on my own and flipped them, and I worked as a parole officer for 21 years, and I have 3 degrees, 2 bachelors and a master's, and I've done the stuff. And guess what? It was great, but it doesn't represent me. I'm all those things and the soulful part of me that I'd been denying because it doesn't fit for anyone else. So, in your old age, I've come to learn that you stop giving a hoot about what other people expect and want from you, and you stop making yourself smaller, editing yourself. And I just did edit myself, but that's because we're on a platform where that's required. At some point, I hope to have a separate area like so many people do on YouTube, where people can go and you can speak more freely, and that will be awesome, but I'd have to figure out how to do that, and that'll be down the road. So after I disengaged, things continually kept building and happening, and the messages were intensifying, and I was writing poetry. I was, and still am, but just allowing it all to flow out and to connect and share messages. I was receiving messages of different I don't know how to describe it, but energies coming through and wanting me to do something, which is not abnormal. However, my focus was more on this bigger message. I had started a business that never felt quite right because I wasn't being truly authentic. And that's why I'm out here, is because I feel more authentic out side than I do sitting in a room under, you know, I want to say false lights, but it's like, it's just so superficial, it's so illusionary, and this is where I feel most at peace. So this is the authentic. It's not going to be perfect because I'm so far from perfect, as we all are. So Daniel had come through, and angel dream, angels in the clouds, seeing more angels in the sky during the geostorm, taking photos of what that classic image I have in my head of Jesus with the I forget what it's called, but the thorns, the crown of thorns around his, and I know there's a word, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, around his head. I have those pictures, and I'll attach those. I received one of the only phone calls I only ever got 2 phone calls on my business line, because I hadn't published it. It was so brief that I had it up and running, and it was from a Daniel, and when I called back, I never received a okay, do you see that? That's a really big black bear. I have never seen a bear up here, and I come up here today to film an introduction, the introduction that I want to use for the new channel I'm creating, the 7th Trumpet. And my dogs start freaking out, and behind me, right there, is a massive black bear. I don't see it right now, so I'm probably just gonna get in the truck. Maybe it's not a bear. Maybe it's a horse. I think it is a horse. I think it's more than one horse. Because I can see a tail. There's a horse. You can see it eating. And there's another one over in behind those trees right there. 2 black beauties. Never seen horses up here in all the years, over 20 years I've been coming. Seen cowboys with horses, but not them just on their own. Interesting. Wonder what that means. Besides, someone let their horses out and they're eating. And it turned out there wasn't just one black horse, there was 2. And I don't know what the significance of 2 black horses would be, but when I looked up any references, because I had already briefly researched the 7th Trumpet, the black horse is the 3rd horse that represents famine and starvation. And so, I mean, of course, being a globally minded citizen, a social worker, who's worked with the most disadvantaged, marginalized, subjugated populations of victims and perpetrators, and perpetrators who are also victims of suffering, causes suffering, you know. It was interesting to me because the first thing I thought of wasn't that famine and starvation in the sense of actual food, even though that is happening and around the world, or so, you know, that's the information that we have access to, because I haven't been around the world. I felt like it was famine and starvation from a connection to divinity and to a higher source of knowing who we are and having faith and spirituality, and that we've been disconnected from it, almost like gatekeeping God from our lives. Because I felt like that. I'm not a perfect person. I don't agree with some pretty big things in organized religions. I agree. I love the idea of community. I love it. And I believe that there's a lot of good that comes from being in a part of a community that wants to give back and believes in, you know, supporting and encouraging each other. I struggle with the other parts that say, if you are outside of our group, like if you don't fit in with our group, you actually are less than. And that makes no sense to me, because if you're there to worship a creator, the source of all, God energy that created all that is, and you say that you represent that creator, that source, that God energy, how can then you say some souls are irredeemable because they don't fit what you believe in? That's where I struggle. So, and I know a lot of people will have things to say about that, and I think that's fantastic, because we all should be able to say what we think and feel and not try to make or power over someone else's opinion because it doesn't match yours. That didn't align with me, so I didn't go to church. See what I'm saying? Having personal choice. That doesn't align with me. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have you should do. We all do. And I can choose just not to go and believe what I believe, which is I'm gonna turn it over to the creator to make those calls of who's redeemable and who isn't. Like, so after seeing the four horsemen, after seeing the two black horses, that's interesting I said that, and I had received a number of other messages, more and more things kept happening, more and more taking photos and videos of angels in the sky, and of course there's always lessons to be learned from the trees and the earth and the wind and the sky, everything, the sky, all of it. They continue to come in and increase, and I felt this deeper and deeper connection that I needed to share. The importance of us having this conversation, especially at this time when everything feels so uncertain. Because the way I see the seventh trumpet and end of times, it's the end of an old way of being. It is the rebalancing of structure. And so the way that I interpret it is that, so like a pendulum, and this is a terrible pendulum that I have here, but this is what I have. And so the pendulum's been stuck up here, imbalance, servicing the very few. And right now, it's barely hanging on. And so it's really struggling to hang on. And what's going to happen is all the stuff that's down here that was built under this single-minded authority, power over, subjugation, all these things, marginalization, all the stuff that was built in that illusion, it's going to be wiped away when this swings down, because there is no way that anything that is stuck on a pendulum up on one side, because it's energy. If you look at a pendulum and you look at physics, naturally it's going to swing, and it's clearing away this illusion, and it's going to come to the other side, and then it's going to balance itself out. And I think that's my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on this end of times story in the Bible. That's just my thoughts. And like I said, I have not researched this at any great length. I know that there's lots of people who have, and that's their interpretation based on their life experiences, based on their positionality of being, if they are white, if they are male, or if they are, if they have money. And in this construct, money is power, white is power, male is power. I'm not saying it's wrong to be white, male, successful, or have money. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in this construct where it's so imbalanced, that's your position. So you see the world through whatever position you're in. So if you find yourself in a position that isn't that, your view of what this construct looks like is very different. Your experience of it is very different. And so I just want to reassure people from my perspective, again, that things are being balanced out, and that you don't need to worry and have anxiety, because we're already living in the war times. That's the wartime, the destruction, the bloodshed. That's happening. You don't have to anticipate that. That's happening. That imbalance. And what else is happening right now is people trying to understand who they are and what value they hold in this world. What is their purpose? What is their mission? What are they meant to do with their lives? And the only way to find that is to actually integrate all parts of yourself. And that's what I want to help people with, is to help first acknowledge where you've been, acknowledge what you have survived, acknowledge where you were accountable in the suffering of self or of others, acknowledge the power that you have and the momentum that you have created and the peace that you can actually give yourself by knowing who you are. Because you cannot control what is outside of yourself. You can definitely thoughtfully and mindfully express yourself and to stand up for what you believe, for sure. This, for me, this channel is about you though. This channel is about you becoming centered and grounded in knowing that you hold value, that you are unique and are a necessary part of a puzzle, of the changing of the way that we live, and that we become more balanced, like an indigenous medicine wheel. And you have the quadrants, so mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And for me, in the middle of that, your soul. And when all of those are balanced, it's like that soul becomes illuminated. So I am so excited to be able to share every time I go on a hike or a walk or anything that I do, things happen, I record them, I show them, and I can't wait, because that alone will help, hopefully, to get you to see the world a little bit differently, and that will help you to see your own power, autonomy, your sense of responsibility, and your connectedness. Because we're all just trying to make it in this world. And once we know that, we can begin to actually work together as opposed to against each other. And I know that sounds so hug it out mentality, but what's wrong with that? Wouldn't that be nice for a change? Hug it out instead of being in some kind of trauma competition or pathologizing other people or canceling them. What the hell? What is that? Pretty sure the creator would have something to say about that. Have something to say about a human, a soul, one soul, believing that they know better. I don't know much about all the different religions and cultures. I know a bit, but in any practical sense, that seems a little counterintuitive. That you believe in a higher source, the highest source, the energetic center of consciousness, but you know better. Good luck with that. So, till next time. Stay safe and stay connected. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon. And I am on my way home after everybody had a nice drink. I got sunburned. And I just have this interesting sense that I'm going to see the final horse, the pale horse, the fourth, which would be really interesting if that actually happens. So I'll let you know. check that out. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm about to drive through two crows. It's like passing through a gateway. I love it. Those looked a little bit bigger, but could be ravens, crows, all same family, from my understanding. Oh, and all the cows are out. I don't know if you can see that. Thank goodness the dogs do not see it. Look at how beautiful that is. What, Gus? You're not even looking out the window. Okay. That's crazy.